Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for October 29th. October 29th is the 302nd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 303rd in leap years, with 63 days remaining to the end of the year. I often leave the selection of the word of the day until I've completed the research for the day in case there's a word that I would like to use for the word of the day. So I got as far as I wanted to go with today's research and realized, oh, I need a word. And for some reason, that reminded me of when I was in high school and in pep club. And we had a cheer. And somewhat, we had lots of cheers. But in this particular cheer, someone would call out, "What's the good word?" And the rest of us would answer with a phrase, usually along the lines of "beat the other team." Except we wouldn't say the other team, we'd name the other team. So, say for example, if we were playing Lawton, I remember riding a bus to Lawton with the pep club, and on the bus we were having a pep rally on the bus, and someone would call out, "What's the good word?" And the rest of us would answer, "Beat Lawton." That's what popped into my head when it was time to get today's word of the day. That said, today's word has nothing to do with cheers or cheerleading or anything else in today's history, I don't think. Today's word is transcribe. Transcribe is a verb that means to write out from speech, notes, etc. It's also used in biology to mean convert the genetic information in a strand of DNA into a strand of RNA, especially messenger RNA. Now, I'd like to take a moment to mention that links to my research are included in the show notes below. Ask you to go ahead and click that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video. You could do that with a link in your email messaging or social media. Let's see. We're still not back on outtakes yet because I'm recording in one take. It'll be nice to edit again, but I'm kind of enjoying, just doing these off the cuff, so to speak. I mean, I have a script, but to get it all in one reading, it seems fresher, if not necessarily cleaner, but fresher. Anyway, let's see here. Oh, yes, there is a This Day in History playlist of the other videos in this series that I've done, which is in the show notes and will be in the iCards up in the corner above. And with that, we're going to start with Constantine. Constantine's been getting a lot of attention lately. As you'll remember, a few days ago he had a vision, and the next day he was victorious in battle. And on this day, October 29th of the year 312, Constantine the Great entered Rome after his victory at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. He staged a grand adventus in the city. An adventus, by the way, is a ceremony in ancient Rome in which an emperor is formally welcomed into a city as a celebratory recognition or welcome. Kind of like a parade in honor of the emperor. These usually happened in Rome. They could happen elsewhere, but they usually happened in Rome. And so Constantine had this grand adventus and was met with popular jubilation. The crowd loved him. Maxentius, whom he had vanquished the day before, had been thrown into the Tiber River, and his body was fished out of the river and beheaded. At first I thought jokingly that this was to make sure he was really dead, but I think it was probably more of a ceremonial gesture. I mean, nobody comes back from a beheading. So Constantine was the boss now. On October 29, 1390, the first trial for witchcraft in Paris, and it led to the death of 3 people. Well, people were all over that witchcraft back then, weren't they? Now, Sir Walter Raleigh, he was an adventurer and writer, and he got into some interesting trouble over the course of his life. He was the favorite courtier of Queen Elizabeth I. Now, she never married nor had any children, and she liked him the best. But he secretly married one of her ladies in waiting, which made her mad, made the queen mad. The mail has popped up here, so let's close that. Alrighty, I might have to just close the mail application so it doesn't try to do that again. Alrighty, so now where were we? Sir Walter Raleigh. Yes, he secretly married one of Elizabeth's ladies in waiting, and this displeased the queen such that she had them both thrown in prison for a while. When Queen Elizabeth died in 1603, Sir Walter Raleigh was thought to be involved in a plot to keep Elizabeth's successor, James I, from the throne. He was arrested, charged, and tried for this. Arrested, charged, and tried, but King James spared his life. Raleigh did spend some time in prison over it, but he did get out of prison, went on an expedition where he made someone else really mad. I don't know what it was with this guy, but he was making people mad a lot. He made somebody really mad, and King James was then prevailed upon, pressured pretty hard to reinstate Raleigh's death sentence. He didn't want to, but politically speaking, it was something that he was more or less forced into. And so it is that on October 29th in the year 1618, Sir Walter Raleigh was beheaded in London. Mount Hood, Oregon was named after Samuel Hood on October 29th, 1792. On October 29th, 1858, the first store opened in a small frontier town in the Colorado Territory. A month later, that small town would take the name of Denver in a shameless ploy to curry favor with Kansas Territorial Governor James W. Denver. Politics. 18 countries met in Geneva, Switzerland, and agreed to form the International Red Cross on October 29, 1863. On September... Okay. Usually I begin with today's date, but in this next story, we're going to set the story up with another date first. So, on September 16, 1901, a man named Leon Zolgos shot President William McKinley. The president reportedly rose slightly on his toes before collapsing forward, saying, "Be careful how you tell my wife." The president died of his wounds 8 days later. And so it is that on October 29, 1901, President William McKinley's assassin, Leon Zolgos, was executed in the electric chair at Auburn Prison in New York. Now, did you know that September and October are historically, not hysterically, nothing hysterical about it, September and October are historically difficult months for the stock market. I've heard that over and over the last month and a half. Now, I haven't looked far enough into it to know exactly why that is, but I could see that it's true. And this day, October 29th, 1929, marks the anniversary of what is known as Black Tuesday, the stock market crash of 1929. On that day, investors traded 16,410,030 shares on the New York Stock Exchange in a single day. Now that was a huge amount of trades to take place at the time. It was a very big deal at the time. Billions of dollars were lost, wiping out thousands of investors. These days, now, a great deal of trading is done virtually over computers and modem lines, just, fast as the speed of light. And so, an incredibly huge volume of trading takes place every day nowadays. But back then, 1929, the stock tickers ran hours behind because the machinery simply could not handle the tremendous volume of trading. In the aftermath of Black Tuesday, America and the rest of the industrialized world spiraled downward into the Great Depression. By mid-November, 30 billion of the 80 billion worth of stocks listed in September were wiped out. I certainly hope that doesn't ever happen again. On a more cheerful note, this is the birthday of painter and television host Bob Ross, born October 29th, 1942. What a pleasure it was to watch Bob Ross. He could make a painting quickly and make it look simple enough that you really felt like you could follow along with him and do it also with him. And he did those shows as a tutorial. More than that, though, his delivery was calm and pleasant and peaceful. He was a pleasure to watch. People who have never picked up a palette or brushes or paints or a canvas have enjoyed watching Bob Ross because his manner of speaking was so calm and calming. Bob Ross lived to the age of 52. A young boxer named Cassius Clay won his first professional fight in Louisville, Kentucky on October 29, 1960. He changed his name later on, and today we know him as Muhammad Ali. The first ever computer link was established on October 29, 1969 over a network known as ARPANET. ARPANET would go on then to be the precursor of today's internet. And that's all I have for you today. Let's see, looks like we're running at about 12 minutes and change right now. I hope you learned something you didn't know before. I know I sure did. I always do. As always, links to my research are included in the show notes below, as is the link to the playlist for my This Day in History series, and you'll also find it in the right up there in that little circle. iCard has a little circle with an I in it. Not this kind of I, the letter I. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with others. Is there anything else? Well, I guess that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.